She was totally okay with that, and she would always joke that he was her retirement plan.
Be careful what you joke about, because it might just come true. This wife treated her husband like a human 401k, constantly laughing about him being her retirement plan. Well, the market just crashed. As always, start by liking the video, and let's get to it.
Disclaimer, this video is made for strictly comedic, artistic purposes. No offense is intended towards any individual featured in this video.
So this girl in my 20s, who I thought was my really good friend, uninvited me to her wedding, and our friendship completely fell apart just because I recommended she get a prenup, so we should talk about it. So mind you, me and her used to go on these like 2-3 hour walks every single week, and we would talk about everything under the sun. And so she started dating this guy. He was a self-employed consultant somehow in healthcare, but he had done very well for himself.
Right.
And she was a nurse. And when they had started dating, he was pretty traditional and had basically said like, hey, I'm looking for somebody who is willing to stay home with the children once we get to that step. And she's like, okay, yeah, of course. She was totally okay with that. And she would always joke that he was her retirement plan. So once they got engaged, I was like, cool. Like we would talk about like what she's going to do herself, wedding stuff, just like normal traditional wedding planning talk. And so when she had told me about their arrangement, like that they were actually dead serious, they were going to try to have kids as soon as possible, I recommended she get a prenup because I am an attorney and I have practice in divorce law. So I said, you should get a prenup. And I was talking about like basic things, like him continuing to put money in her retirement fund so it grows at the same rate as his, her getting like some money in mutual funds while she's a stay-at-home mom. Things that I think protect her that are very standard, that are not like a, I just want all your money type situation. And she's like 100% on board with this. She's like, that's a great idea. Like, I'll definitely talk to him. And I'm like, cool. And they end up going to, like, she ends up talking to him and she says he just like absolutely like did not react well. She texts me, says he hates this idea, doesn't think it's like a good idea that traditional families don't do prenups, like divorce is not an option for them. You get the gist. And it should have just been left at that. But then for some reason, this really triggered him and he started to tell her stuff like, Selma's jealous of our relationship. Selma's jealous because she's not married. Selma's trying to break us up. I don't think you should be friends with this girl. And ultimately that talk got to her because I really didn't push the prenup that much. I told her I thought it was a mistake, but that we would just deal with it when we got there.
So she suggests a prenup for her friend, even though the guy is pushing for a traditional marriage. He immediately gets triggered, claiming that prenups have no place in a traditional union. But you guys know where I stand. I couldn't disagree more. In modern America, we aren't signing up for a sacred bond. We're signing a government-regulated contract. I believe everyone needs a prenup to protect themselves. You're free to follow your own path. But in this case, spoiler alert, the traditional dream ends in a total nightmare.
And he, like, I not only find out like she's ghosting me quite a bit, but she's also uninvited me to her wedding because the wedding happens. I never get an invitation. And I'm like, oh, but I let it go. Cause quite honestly, like I don't want to make their marriage any harder than it needs to be. And like, I honestly don't want a friend who, if I try to give you just a piece of advice, it escalates that quickly. So I just moved on. Let's flash forward to 2025, shall we? And I get a text from her and she says, I know it's been forever. I would appreciate if you call me. Like if you don't call me, no worries. And I'm like, okay, there's something serious has to be happening. If I haven't heard from this girl in like 6-7 years now, and suddenly she is like texting me, what? And so I'm like, I text her back. I'm like, I'll call you after work. So I end up calling her and you guys want to guess? You want to guess? So he is obviously a POS and they are getting a divorce. Like he is like, she knows he's planning on filing. And so she wants to know what she can do to protect herself at this point. Mind you, she got pregnant, I don't know, 4 months after they got married that many years ago. She's been out of the workforce that long. He obviously like made it a point to like not include her in financials. And the biggest problem for me is that he is self-employed. And being self-employed, especially at a smaller company, is a much bigger beast than your normal W-2 employee, which is why I suggested the prenup to begin with. And so, yeah, we ended up duking that out against my boundaries. I ended up helping her quite a bit. but she did not come out as well as she should have because she didn't get the prenup. This is just to say, like we are like cordial now, cordial. I told her she needs to make a TikTok and talk about her story because I think people could learn a thing or two, but she's not interested in that. But yes. So if you're wondering, I did get permission to make this video. I got permission like last year and then just didn't make it. But I've recently been seeing a lot of you say, hee hee ha ha, this guy's my retirement plan. I don't know what our bank accounts are. I don't know where our mortgage comes out of. Like, ladies, let's be doing our due diligence.
There is a massive lesson to be learned here. While prenups are often criticized, mostly by women who see them as a lack of trust, this case is a perfect example of why they are essential for both parties. A prenup isn't a weapon. It's a shield that ensures both people are protected. If things go sideways, it brings a level of transparency to the marriage that wouldn't exist otherwise.
Okay, so I just want to address a few of the comments that I've been getting. First and foremost, this comment's just hilarious. It made me literally cackle out loud. But if you cannot have a conversation with your future husband or your current husband about finances and without him getting super emotional, aggressive, defensive, that is a huge red flag. That is not something to take lightly. That is very serious. And I think too many people don't want to rock the boat. But ladies, you need to be rocking the boat, okay? I mean, this can go both ways. This also applies to men. This applies to everybody. But you should be able to have an open and honest conversation about finances at any given time without it being this hostile situation. Second, everybody needs a prenup. Every single person. I don't care if you're both brokies and you're both starting out your careers, you're both trying to figure it out. There is going to always be a reason to get it. So say you marry a guy and you both don't have any money yet, right? You're still building your future. And he is super financially illiterate. And he puts you in a bunch of debt. You could be on the hook for that. Like you inherit the bad with the good financially when you marry somebody. It's that serious. And mind you, you could end up in a situation where you are an absolute powerhouse and you end up being a super breadwinner and you end up being the one who has to you have the kids and you do everything for this man. And at the end of the day, if he doesn't get it together and you get divorced, on top of you having to do all of the labor of having the children and probably being the primary caregiver, you're going to end up paying that man some money. You don't want that. Do you want that? I don't understand. Like, ladies, let's do our due diligence. And third, I just want to remind you that in some states, post-nuptial agreements are recognized. You'd have to look at your own state law and consult a lawyer within your state. But there is something called a post-nuptial agreement. And it is basically exactly like it sounds. You get married and then you decide you want to enter into a legal agreement related to the finances within the marriage. And this could be a wealth of protection. So if you fail to get a prenup and now you're like, woof, I should have done that. I mean, obviously there are different stipulations around it, but I would 100% recommend looking into it. So anyway, I probably will make a lot of videos related to this content. This is the content that I live for outside of story times. I love helping educate, especially women. Obviously this is for everybody, but I just love content like this because I don't think women do enough to protect themselves. So another huge pro to getting a prenup is you have to do something called a full financial disclosure, at least in the state of Indiana. And basically both parties have to disclose all of their debt, student loans, credit cards, personal loans, you name it. They have to talk about what all the assets that they have, all of their brokerage accounts, their retirement funds, their bank accounts. They have to talk about any inheritance they have or expect to get. They have to talk about any business interests, any royalties they're getting from any projects. I mean, it is supposed to be a super in-depth exercise. So you also get to learn a lot about your partner in a financial sense, because I think we talk surface level. We talk about salary, how much do you make? How much, are you putting in your retirement account? But I think when you have to sit down and actually exchange a financial disclosure, it gives you a better understanding of who you're marrying, how they handle their money, where they're putting their money, which I think is just really good going into a marriage because you have the full picture. If they decide to lie on their financial disclosure or it's incomplete or they just don't do it, a lot of times the prenup can be invalidated. So it is a big, big issue. Guys, if your partner is trying to put a clause in your prenup related to intimacy or your weight or your appearance, not only is that not enforceable generally within the courts, but that's ew. And you should run fast.
That intimacy clause is probably for those weird billionaires. I don't think most of us would ever see it as a normal thing. So, that was it for today. I hope you got something out of this video, especially the ladies here. Well, see you tomorrow.